Welcome to this ADACS webinar on how to utilize Cookiecutter. My name is Leonie Chevalier and I am part of the Swinburne node of ADACS. We will go through what Cookiecutter is and how it could be helpful to you, as well as how to set up on your machine. We will then go through how to work with existing templates using one of our ADACS project templates as an example. Cookiecutter is a scaffolding tool. Imagine reducing your workflow setting up a new Django project to just answering a few questions and things are ready to go. It runs on all platforms and is fully language agnostic, so it can be used for all kinds of projects. There's already a huge library of free open source templates that you can use straight out of the box, and of course you can make your own tailored templates to suit your project and your needs, or adjust the existing projects with some minor tweaks. Using templates is not just a time saver, but it also comes in handy when onboarding new developers onto project, as well as keeping consistency across a group of people working on something. Installation of Cookiecutter is straightforward and is very well documented. I will go through the prerequisites one by one, but in general, the two big sticking points you might encounter is not having a Python interpreter to begin with, or your package manager setup. Let's start with checking for your Python interpreter. If you don't know if or what version of Python you have set up on your machine, this is how you check for it. There's a couple of different ways on how you can check your Python interpreter. Let's start with how to check it on the command line. So you'd open up a terminal and you would type in Python -- version or Python -v and see what the result is. Now, of course, this could also work with Python 3 instead of Python, depending on whether or not you have installed Python 3 under Python 3. Now, to give a bit of a clearer example, let's hop into a terminal for a live demo of this. Okay, I've opened up a fresh terminal here. And so, like in the example on the slide, we are going to try and type in Python -- right, and it tells me the Python version installed is Python 3.11.5. Now, if I ask it Python -v, it will give me the same result. So these commands are of course interchangeable. Now with Python 3, let's try this. Again, the same thing. So on my machine it is set up that Python and Python 3 are referring to the same Python installation here. However, it is important that you check this on your machine because that might not be the case. You might still have Python 2.7, 2.8 running under your Python path, and you have to be specific about Python 3 if you actually want to use Python 3. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. Let's head back to the slides. Another way to check for your Python interpreter is using an interactive shell. Now to do this, in your terminal, type Python or Python 3, and that should open a function of Python if it is installed. Now if it isn't installed, you should be getting an error, which will tell you that you'd have to install Python on your machine. Now if it opens up, you will type in import sys, next line print, and in bracket sys.version, close brackets. This should work on both Python and Python 3, and it will print out what version of Python is being used. Pretty straightforward. Now, I thought I mentioned this as well, but you can of course use your package managers to check for your Python interpreter and what version of Python it is you're running. However, I'm only mentioning this and I'm not going to go through all of the package managers that are out there, or even the most popular ones, because that would derail this little short webinar massively and is really a course in of itself. So if you're interested, either check the link that is listed down below or type in your favorite package manager and how to check for Python interpreter. Something I can go through is checking your Python interpreter using your path. In your terminal, first use which Python, and then that should return you your path. And then you use your path to Python -- version, and that should show you the version of Python you're using. Now, this would also nicely lead us into the next part we're going to talk about, which is adjusting your Python path. And using this method of which Python and path to Python will give you an inkling of where it already sits, but it might not be the path that you want to use, or Python might not be where you want it to be. Now, I always have to look up how to adjust my Python path because it's not something I can remember. So I'll try to go through this, but feel free to stop the video at any point and, take your time doing this if necessary. Now, when adjusting your path, I have to say, I've never had to do this on a Windows machine, so take all of this information with a grain of salt and feel free to do your own research. But on the screen in front, I've got up both the ways on how to change your path, both in Windows as well as in Unix and Mac OS X. So in Mac, this is fairly straightforward. You need to edit your bash profile with your editor of choice. So you open that bash profile file either with touch as shown on screen or, again, editor of choice. Then you add your local to path. In the example, export path equals home /.local/bin $path. And then really importantly, after you've done this, you saved your file, you closed it, you need to load those changes again for them to take effect. Now, for the Windows version, there is a GUI involved, which I have not got any experience with. So before I tell you anything that is wrong, please, look this up for yourself if you're working on a Windows machine. Now, finally, before we move on to how to actually install Cookiecutter, packaging tools. Now, packaging tools get talked about in the installation guide on the Cookiecutter website. However, there's nothing you need to install. I don't think you'll run into any problems as such with packaging tools if you've got a fairly regular Python setup. So, this is really something you can gloss over, but I've included the links just in case you run into any trouble with packaging tools or you get weird errors or you just want to learn more. So the links are there if you'd want it. There is a link in the actual Read the Docs from Cookiecutter, but at the time of this recording, that link is broken. So I found the closest equivalent link for you with all of the information that is relevant. Please take a look if you've got the time. Now let's move on to how to actually install Cookiecutter on your machine. Okay, we finally made it. Thank you for bearing with me through all of the prerequisites to the point where we actually talk on how to install Cookiecutter. Now, even though the prerequisite section was so long, the actual installation of Cookiecutter is incredibly straightforward. I have listed the most common methods: pip, conda, homebrew, Debian Ubuntu, or, just in case you don't have pip, an easy install version on screen. All of these should work at the time of this recording. Now, personally, I used pip to install Cookiecutter. You might have to use pip3. Again, this depends on your Python installation and your Python path and what stuff is saved under. There's no right or wrong here. This is completely personal preference of how you like to install things on your machine and how you like to manage packages. So this is a free of choice. Okay, So provided that Cookiecutter has installed on your machine without any problems, let's talk about existing templates, where to find them and how to use them. As mentioned earlier in this webinar, there are thousands of pre-existing templates already out there for you to use and edit for your own needs and projects. There are several ways to find existing Cookiecutter templates to browse, download and augment. The documentation helpfully refers to them as a pantry full of cookie cutters. And that's where we'll start. The Cookiecutter Read the Docs has a whole section dedicated to existing templates sorted by their respective use cases. So there's Java, there is C++, if you scroll through data-driven journalism, reproducible science, etc., etc. So, there is definitely a good start in there for whatever you might need. Let's pop back up to the top. Okay. So you can also go to the Cookiecutter.io website. It's a bit more of a polished look. And you can browse templates here, sorted by technology. So if you look on the side, here you have, for example, Django, go down to Python, sorted by technology, and then if we say we wanted to look at Hatch, Virtual Environment Manager for Python, it will take you to the GitHub page. Now, for the complete overview, you can check all Cookiecutter templates on GitHub, provided that the publisher has added the Cookiecutter template topic to their repository. So from there, it's just, type in Cookiecutter in the search bar, and it's a matter of browsing and refining your search terms to find what suits your needs best. So, of course, it's always helpful to have a chat with your team if they are already using or have created Cookiecutter templates themselves. It's going to be a lot quicker than scrolling through the host of existing templates here. Now, what happens if you can't find what it is you're looking for? If there is no template that quite meets your needs, well, it goes without saying that, of course, you can edit existing templates, if not make a new one completely from scratch. And that's what we're going to be covering next. Okay, so at the top level of every template, you have a cookiecutter.json file. Let me demonstrate this. So we are currently in a folder called Cookiecutter, and if we now look into Astro template, and list what's in here. Alright, so at the very beginning you have your cookiecutter.json file. This is the file that defines the variables that user will be asked for when they run your template. And we look inside cookiecutter.json. Alright, it's opened up. So in this case, we were being asked for the project name, the project slug, which you can either redefine, or it will take your project name and convert it into lowercase, no spaces, etc., etc. Your name and your favorite survey. You notice that the last one, favorite survey, gives you a predefined list, so the user will be prompted to choose between the available options rather than inputting their own. Okay, that's currently all they're being asked for. Now, next, we have the folder where all of the things that the user gets prompted for actually get used, and where all of the files and the project that actually needs to be created gets made, and that is here, double curly brackets, cookiecutter.project slug. Okay, you can already see here, project slug is something we are prompted for. So when a project gets created, it will be what the user had input. Now, inside this folder, you can include any files you want for our project, like a README, licensing, setup.pys, even nested folders if we wanted it, like cookiecutter.module names, etc., etc. In our case, what have we got here? We only have an about. And if we want to look at our about, it's just opened up, right? About this project. So this is a markdown file. You see here project name. It is now referencing what the user inputs beforehand as project name, author name, favorite survey. This was created by a Cookiecutter template. Alright, so should we give this a go? Now, these placeholders written in curly braces will be replaced as the project generates, if that wasn't completely clear. Now, once the template is ready, we can use it from the command line by running Cookiecutter and follow the path as the template of the template. Cookiecutter will prompt us for the values defined in the cookiecutter.json, so project name, project Slack, author name, favorite survey, in our case. Right. And this means we could very fastly and easily recreate a number of these projects. So let's go backwards and clear. Now, you start by typing Cookiecutter and then the path to our template, which for me is user, documents, ADACS, webinars, Cookiecutter, Astro template. Right, and we're already being prompted for project name, which here as the pre-fill is my Astro project. So I can hit enter and it will be named my Astro project, or I can name this favorite survey of all time. Oops, enter. Alright. Yes, I'm happy with this slug, although it is a bit long. Maybe instead we will make this survey 1. Okay, I'm Leonie, that's my name. And now it's asking me to select favorite survey. It's got them numbered. Here they are. We can choose between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is default. Okay, let's say Gaia is our favorite survey. So we type in 2. We hit enter. And if we now check what's happened, survey 1. So we go into, I can just open it up, sublime about. Right, now this is the about from survey 1. So you can see this has been generated about this project. Project name, favorite survey of all time, author, Leonie, me. Favorite astronomical survey, Gaia. This project was created using a Cookiecutter template. Leonie is especially inspired by the Gaia survey. Easy. Now, this is a super simple example, really straightforward. It's just replacing a couple of spaces in a markdown file, but you can make fairly complicated things, of course. The sky's the limit here. One project that ADACS has been working on is automatically creating some read the doc files for projects that we've been working on, so that you don't have to manually go through and create all of this when you already, basically written all of it somewhere in the code and it needs to be copied over. Anywho, alright, this is it from me, at least for this very basic tutorial on how Cookiecutter works. Thank you so much for watching, and tune in for what we've got next on the channel. Bye!